Good evening, and welcome to the show. We're live from downtown Mulberry. Well, at least I'm live from downtown Mulberry. But we've got somebody in here that's a lot further away than anybody else on the panel, and he's our special guest tonight. So we'll get to him in just a moment. We're going to start off by introducing everybody on the show. So I'm going to, instead of going from left to right a few times the last time, I'm going from right to left. So I'm going to start with Tommy. Sorry, Bed, you're the first one on the right, so I think you were the first one last time.
I was. My name is Tommy Gonzalez. You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff under Tommy G Workshop.
Cool. Next is Michael Murray.
Good evening. My name is Michael Murray with Miter Mike's Woodshop. You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, Pinterest. My website is www.mitermikeswoodshop.com, and I'm glad to be here.
Glad to have you. Next is Mr. John Cousins.
Hey everybody, how's it going? You can find me on Facebook under John P.A. Cousins, or on Facebook under Wood If I Could, W-O-O-D. I'm up in northern Alberta. It's getting a little cold here, but we'll see how things are going.
Yeah, I would imagine you're a little cool up there right now. We've had an extraordinary warm winter so far, or fall winter, I would say, because we broke records around here for the heat. So I almost kind of envy you that it's cool up there, but I guess if I lived up there, I'd be complaining about that too. So. Next is Donald Matthews. Don't forget to unmute yourself, because I think you...
Me and buttons don't work well. My name is Donald Matthews. My YouTube channel is Donald Vlogifies Woodshop. Got a website, redneckknowhow.com, and you can find all my Twitter and stuff on my YouTube channel.
Cool. And Mr. Dave Gatton, Sidewinder CNC.
Yeah, thank you, Russ. I have to apologize for the ball game. I know you're probably a little depressed.
I knew you were going to bring that up.
Well, I had to dress in the proper attire for tonight too. Yeah, my name's Dave Gatton. You can find me on YouTube under Dave Gatton. You can find me on Facebook under Dave Gatton Sidewinder CNC, and you can also find me on a new YouTube channel that I just uploaded the first video to tonight, and that's GarageWorks CNC.
Fantastic. I will tell you this much. If y'all don't know what we're talking about, my team, the Florida Gators, played the Alabama Roll Tide tonight, and it didn't work out too good for my team. We got our butts beat. You know, they had that same problem the last time when we played FSU, as far as they did real good the first half, and the last half of the third and the fourth quarter, they just bombed.
Yeah. Roll Tide.
I still love my Florida Gators. You can, and he wanted to bet me, and I knew better because we've had a lot of problems with Alabama over the years. So that's the reason I said no. So he wanted what he wanted to do is say that if Alabama won, I had to wear Alabama stuff on the next show, and then if the Gators won, he had to wear the Gator stuff on the next show. And I was like, no. They ain't play. I'll tell you what. They have done real good for this first year with that coach. So they've done a big turnaround compared to what they've done before. So, and next on the list is Mr. Chris Ahern.
Hey guys, Chris Ahern here. If you don't find me at the local pub, you find me out in my workshop, YouTube at Crystal Wheeler, and on Facebook at the Old Cranky Workshop.
Very good. And I tell you what, I'm amazed at the problems that I have. I still don't have the video feed for the chat room over on my other computers, but I'll work on that in a minute. And then next is Braxton Worthen. Hope I said it right. You're muted, by the way. There you go.
Worthland, close enough.
Worthland. I knew I was going to mess one of the names up tonight.
Why not mine? Thanks for having me, Russ. You can find me on YouTube under Braxton Worthland, and also on my new website, which is braxtonworthland.com. Still semi under construction, though.
Still semi under construction. I know it took me forever to get mine up more working right. And then our guest for the night is Regan, and I got that right, by God, at least. And he's all the way from Australia. Great to have you here, man. And how old are you now?
So I'm 16. I just turned 16 last month, actually. So 2 months ago now, 31st of October.
Wow.
So yeah, and I've been woodworking since I was kind of 12. I've been doing actual projects, and since I was 10, I've been just tinkering around outside, building giant siege engines that hurl milk bottles in the backyard, that kind of stuff.
Awesome. Really, that's really nice. Go ahead and tell us where we can find you. I think you have a YouTube channel, so go ahead.
Yeah, so you can find me on Facebook. I've got a Facebook page, Regan's Woodworking and Woodturning, where I post pictures of the stuff I do. And then you can find kind of projects and how-to videos on how I do some of the stuff on my YouTube channel, which is Regan's Woodworking and Woodturning as well.
Fantastic. Well, I guess the first thing that I want to ask, and I usually get the privilege of asking the first question, I'm trying to get YouTube brought up on this. I have two laptops on this laptop to see if it's got the chat section coming up on it, because so far it's still not on this one. But the first question I would like to ask you, what got you into woodworking? I mean, what sparked your intrigue? What made you decide to pick up the first thing and try it? I mean, what got you going?
Yeah, sure thing. So we've got a boat at our house, or we used to have a boat. We've got a new boat now, but our old boat was a 30-something foot. It was a Colin Archer, and it was a wooden boat. And my dad and I had always kind of tinkered around on the boat a little bit. And then we started replacing the decks on the boat with new plywood panels. And that's where I kind of got a bit better at kind of making actual things and having a real process. Like, I need to make these bits first, and I need to pull out the old boards and seal all the kind of beams that go across. That's really where I started doing construction woodworking. And in terms of project woodworking, like kind of smaller boxes, bowls, that kind of thing, it was really at school when I did wood turning, and I turned a little box thing, and that's really spurred my kind of smaller project woodworking that I do a lot more of now, and I think my YouTube videos reflect that kind of smaller projects that you can do in a weekend kind of thing. So yeah, I'd have to say it was at school, tech class, and I came home and was like, Mum and Dad, I want to buy a lathe, and it really went from there, selling my old iPod, buying an old dirt and machine shop lathe, and since then I've upgraded and bought new tools.
So you started basically with the lathe work before you started with anything else?
So I know a lot of people do it kind of woodworking, and then they decide, oh, I want to specialize in wood turning, or I want to do more wood turning. I was kind of the other way around, where I started kind of with lathes, and lathes are good because you don't need too much space, you don't need a big shop, you don't need table saws, thicknesses, jointers. You can just have your lathe, maybe a bandsaw if you're lucky, and tools, and you can just do that. And so I did that for about 2 years, and since then I've got a new lathe, and then I kind of decided, well, actually, I can now see all the different woodworking things that I can actually do and how I can incorporate wood turning into those projects, and that's really gotten me onto my woodworking now.
Great. Great. And I just now got the chat, so for those of you who are watching, I know there's a lag of a couple of minutes by the time it makes it onto actual YouTube, but I just now got the YouTube up where I can see the chat over there, guys. So we got Katie Dotson, Tommy don't count because he's posting it over there, Sterling Davis, Dan Ingiewood, they're all over there in the chat section. Anybody got any questions for Regan? You can unmute yourself.
Hey, Regan, where do you see yourself going with woodworking? Is it going to be a full-time career thing, or do you have other educational career plans?
A great question. So I get asked this a bit actually. Where do I see myself in 10, 20 years time? And I definitely want to be able to continue doing woodworking in some capacity. My concern is that I find if I do too much of a particular thing, I get bored with it, and I don't want to. I've invested too much, and I enjoy woodworking too much to have to do it like kind of 9 till 5 every day and have to have deadlines and all that kind of stuff. I think if I did that, I wouldn't want to kind of have dinner and then go back into the workshop and do a fun project. I just find I want to sit down and watch TV or play on my laptop. So that's what I'm cautious about. One thing I really like the idea of is a shipwright, which pretty much building boats, like doing woodworking, also doing fiberglassing, all that kind of stuff on boats I think would be very interesting. And I've grown up with boats pretty much all my life. We bought one when I was 9 or 10, so I've had it for the last like 6, 7 years almost, coming up to 7 years I've been around boats, and that's really kind of helped give me something to focus on and give me projects and little things that I can do.
Right.
But yeah, in terms of at the moment, I've got no idea. Maybe shipwright's an option. Maybe even getting a kind of carpentry degree, or like being a carpenter and doing stuff like that for myself, like houses or something like that. I'm trying to keep my options open, if you know what I mean. I don't want to specifically get stuck into something.
Oh no, at your age, you're right. You need to keep all your options open. You never know, because when I was younger, I wanted to be a pilot. And
a pirate?
A pilot. I wanted to be a pilot. As far as fly planes, you know.
Oh, I thought you said a pirate.
No, a pilot. Fly planes, you know.
Yeah.
And you fly play?
So that didn't work out, and I ended up becoming a fireman. But I was born and raised into woodworking as a third generation carpenter. So it kind of like came natural to me. And I really feel in a lot of ways that woodworking itself is as much as an art as any other thing, like painting or sculpturing. I really feel that. I don't think everybody can do woodworking. Yeah, they can pick up a saw and cut a 2x4, but to be able to produce something like turn something on a lathe or do something on a scroll saw or something like that, is really an art, and I think you're born with it. I mean, I'm not saying that, like I said, you can't build a cabin or build a house or something. I'm talking about the true art form of woodworking, carving, engraving, those kind of things. That's real art.
Sure.
So anybody else got a question for Regan?
Hey Regan, where do you get your wood from? You guys have like a wood mill out there, or what kind of wood species is in Australia?
You're muted yourself, or something happened to your...
Good, my mic. There are some really good wood species out in Australia that you can get: camphor laurels, jarrah, those kind of things. It's great that I'm able to be part of a kind of network of woodworkers via the Hornsby Woodworking Men's Shed, which is a club I'm in that does woodworking and has a group that does wood turning as well. And that's great because it's connected me with a bunch of kind of like-minded people of all different ages. So there's other members that are around my age, members that are in their 20s, all the way up to members that are like in their 80s and are still doing turning and woodworking. So that's helped me kind of get to know people that I can kind of trade pieces of wood. If you've got a big load of one species, you can trade it with a few other people and get smaller loads of different stuff. I try to avoid buying wood where possible in terms of from a kind of in a wholesale or retail environment in that sense, just because it's quite expensive. And if I can get pieces and trade with other people, then I don't see why I really need to buy wood.
Yeah. Can you give us some names of? I mean, like we have cherry, mahogany, walnut. Can you give us some names of some species that y'all have that are readily available?
Yeah. So camphor laurel and jarrah are two really big species. Merbau is another one. My project I just released on YouTube, the box, the sides of that were Merbau. So yeah, that's a species which is great because you can get it from Bunnings, which is just like your Home Depot, really. Pine is okay. There's a few nicer species, kind of nicer than just your standard 2x4 pine. You can get like different radiata pine, a whole bunch of different things, and a lot of it can be spalted if you're really lucky. Yeah, so Merbau, Jarrah, Campbell Laurel I would say are the top 3 species that I can get quite commonly in terms of Australian hardwoods, and there's a bunch of other non-native Australians or like woods that are either found in very small locations or are imported from overseas that I have quite good access to. Things like your American oak and your Solomon Island Merbau I can end up finding quite easily if I choose to.
Cool. Yeah.
I just noticed in the comments Sterling had asked, do I plan on taking classes for the trade or just grow as I go? I just wanted to say I have done a few wood turning classes, but I don't know at the moment if I necessarily plan on going down like kind of going through not like a college but like a technology institute where you learn the traditionals or furniture making. I don't really see that as something I plan on doing, Sterling.
Yeah, but still, even if you designate yourself as to, like, I'll just go out on the limb and say like like a banker or financial institute, if you have woodworking also along on your side as a hobby or whatever, it's always something you can fall back on, or even to make like a do-it-yourself kind of guy around the house to be able to fix things. So it's actually a real nice hobby.
I think being handy and being able to kind of, even if it's not woodworking in the sense that we usually talk about of like making like specific, like small projects, making boxes, that kind of stuff, even if it's more, oh yeah, you can fix the door that's fallen off its things, or yeah, you can fix that window that's a bit tight. Just being able to be practical and do things with your hand, I think, is a brilliant hobby for people to have, and a brilliant ability for people to have.
Yeah. Anybody else on the panel?
Yeah, I wanted to ask Regan a little more about the men's shed. I know I'd talked to you previously about it, and you had to go through some kind of a little bit of a process to get into that because you're so young. Can you tell everybody what you had to do in order to become a member of that?
Yeah, so I'm part of the Hornsby Woodworking Men's Shed, which is pretty much a group of about 140 members now, I think, and you pay $100 a year for adult members and $50 a year for student members to join, and you have access to all of the tools, and you have access to people that are able to give really good advice. The thing with it is when I went to join, the membership age was 16, and when I was trying to join, I was only really 15 and a half. So what I had to do was I had to write a proposal to the committee of the shed where they would have a look at some of the stuff I do and all that kind of, like, whether I'm safe with the tools, whether I have an understanding of what I'm doing, or whether it's just you shove this into this machine and comes out the product you need, whether I actually understand how the things work. And they went through that, and then I got approved into the shed, and then you've got the paperwork, the safety, the insurance stuff you've got to fill out. And then after that, I'm actually able to join. So it was a bit of a difficult process. But I think now that I've kind of paved the way for people to do it, there's been 2 or 3 other younger members join the men's shed or apply to join the men's shed because they can kind of see the direction that they need to go. So it was hard, but I think anything that's new, anything that you haven't done before is a bit of a challenge. But yeah, I got through successfully, and now I've been part of it for a while, and it's great because I've got access to all of the tools that you can't really, realistically, as a 16-year-old, be able to have at home. I've got access to a saw stop cabinet saw, I've got access to a bunch of Laguna band saws with different blades, thicknesses and jointers, that kind of stuff. And it's great because for $50 a year, there's no way I would be able to afford to buy all the things for that. Like just impossible.
Outstanding. Just real quick over, because Katie's asked this twice. She wants to know if you've ever considered getting into architecture.
Architecture. I have actually had a look at it. It's kind of the thing that you have a look at and they show you the books at the guidance counselor. I've had a look at it, but I don't know if I've really got the imagination and the drawing skills and that to be able to, the imagination really, to be able to design buildings, whereas I can really kind of problem solve things a bit better than I can just imagine up new things. But I think, like I was saying, being able to keep my options open is something maybe in 2 years' time I'll get better at being able to design things, and I just like that'll be a path that I want to go down. But for the moment, no, it's not something I'm thinking.
I think Tommy wanted to ask something too.
Yeah, I was just going to go back to the species of wood that you were talking about. Have you found a species that you like to work with more than the others?
Well, I'm lucky. I've been able to work with a lot of species that aren't native to Australia or aren't specifically grown in Australia. At the moment, I think my favourite species to work with would probably have to be Solomon Island Merbau. You may have seen it on my Facebook page. I did a while ago a big platter. It was a dip in the middle, and then it had this ring around the side where you could put chips or something. And I'd say that's probably my favourite species to work with because it cuts really well, but you can still get a really smooth finish on it. Yeah.
Great. Anybody else?
Yeah, you say you've got the native species there. Do you can you find it already milled, or do you have to do something about milling it up yourself?
So a lot of there's definitely the option to be able to go to a wood store and be able to say, yep, I have this in this thickness and it's pre-milled and everything. But because I'm cheap, I don't really like to spend money on wood. A lot of the pieces I find are literally logs that, like other members of the woodworking shed, the men's shed that I go to, have found on the side of the road and chopped up with just the saw. So a lot of the pieces aren't actually milled in boards. They're pieces of log that I've got to then rip up with the bandsaw and joint and thickness the edges and that. And now that I'm part of the men's shed, that's a lot easier to do because I've got access to a 12-inch jointer and a 20-inch thicknesser. So it's a lot easier to be able to do that now. But if I needed to, if I didn't have access to anything, I could go out to the store and buy the thickness and the size and everything that I need.
You know, that I have to say that's really fantastic for where you're at over in Australia, because I know I have a lot of people that contact me over in Europe, the UK, Germany, that are followers, and they seem to have a lot more harder time over in Europe getting wood, quality wood, and the type of wood that they want than seems to those you have in Australia. And I find that's kind of wild, because I mean I would think there'd be a lot of wood over in in Europe, but I have so many people in the UK telling me they can't get this or they can't get that, and they have a hard time getting good quality wood. I guess a lot of them are scrollers too, because naturally, in order to be able to do scroll saw work, you need quarter, 1/8-inch, quarter, maybe half-inch thick wood. So they don't have it and readily available like it sounds like you do.
They chopped it up and used it in castles.
Yeah, I think I am lucky. I think I do have a very good supply of wood, and now that I've been woodworking for coming up to 4 or 5 years, I actually know people. Like, if I want a specific type, say I have this project coming up and I wanted some Camp Laurel, like a big chunk of Camp Laurel for a bowl, yep, I know these 3 guys that I could call that probably have a supply, and I could trade them or I could pay them, and it's always going to be a discounted rate because it's like kind of mates rates. It's not like, yeah, you can have this piece, it's going to be like $10,000. It's like, yeah, I'll do this for like $30 or something, or yeah, you can have this for $10, or yeah, if you give me this piece of wood, I'll happily give you some of this. Like, it's now I've got connections to people that I know, and they can fall upon me as I can fall upon them if I need something.
That's great. It's really great. Over in the chat section, Steve French over at Wood and Stuff, he asked, have you ever tried wood carving, or do you intend on ever trying wood carving at some point?
I haven't tried wood carving. I think I don't know if I'd have the patience for it. I know a few people that do a bit of wood carving. In fact, I'll show you. I'm going to do a bit of carving on this bandsaw box I made yesterday. You can see I've still got some white from the template on the front, but it's just a really simple bandsaw box. And what I'm planning on doing is putting a thing on the front, like gluing a piece onto the front, and then carving it out so it's like a lip underneath kind of thing, like a natural feeling lip. So I guess, yeah, wood carving is something that I could potentially get into in the near future. I haven't done any yet, and that bandsaw box will kind of be the first main bit of wood carving I've done. I know a few people that have done carving, especially with their turnings, and it looks beautiful, so maybe it is something that I'm going to get into in the near future.
Rusty Nails over there said if you're really interested in boat building, you may be able to find an apprenticeship program over there. Have you heard of an apprenticeship program over there for boat building?
So I know boat buildings do have apprenticeship programs over here. I think the next step I would take would be looking at getting some part-time or an intern, like, I don't know if you'd really call it an internship, part-time work or some work experience with a person that works on boats every day with a shipwright, something like that, where I can kind of get some experience and have a more in-depth look at what they actually do and what's involved in it. And then on from there, maybe when I finish school, I can do a kind of I can do like a program where it's actually partnered up with someone that can teach me the ropes on how you do it.
Cool. Leland Hill said wood is very expensive over there too, where he's at, all types. So, and that's like I said. There's you're fortunate. You're fortunate. I know that we most of us here over in America, we're fortunate because we have a Home Depot or a Lowe's right around the corner, it seems. So we got places for that, and I am really blessed because I have a man that lives within 15 minutes, 20 minutes of me that he mills wood, and I can buy it a full stock, like 4/4 wood, 12 inches, 24 inches, pretty much what. If you've got the money, he's got the wood, so to speak.
Yeah, I think that's like a lot of the places around me, and it's the reason I like to go to people I know is because it's a bit cheaper. But some of the guys will be like, "Yeah, I can give you all of this wood, but it's going to cost you a stack load of money. Like, where's the credit card? Because just start paying for it now. It's really expensive, some pieces, but if you're able to find the good deals and you get to know people, it's a lot cheaper."
Cool. All right, anybody else? Donald, I see you unmuted yourself.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so I have kind of that problem in my area. Naturally we're fortunate we have Lowe's. I can get the poplar and, the normal standard woods, but like if I want cherry or walnut, it's hard to find somebody around here that has it or carries it. And what few people do mill it, it's like $30 for a piece. Not much of anything, So that's why I was asking that.
Yeah, I think yeah, you're right here. Even though we have an abundance of wood and stores and stuff, like the Home Depots, and you're not going to get that type of wood that you're looking for. You can get the pine and the, like you said, poplar and stuff. And I've seen oak. They carry oak in mine. Pretty good sizes too. I've seen some oak 1 inch thick, 12 or 14 inches wide. But I mean, we're talking about $15 a board foot or whatever at that point. So,
well, it's like with me, I've got all that stuff in the woods in my backyard, but I don't have any way to mill it.
Yeah.
In fact, just back to your point on cherry, I've kind of made up this little wood rack under the house where I could just store boards and that. And I pulled out a board. I paid $200 for a stack load of boards of different stuff, a bit of cedar, which is another very common wood around in Australia. And I pulled out this board, started to mill it, took it down to the shed, and one of the guys was like, "That's cherry." and like this massive board, like heaps, like let me think of feet. It was probably around 5 meters long, so 3 feet a meter. That's 15 feet long. Board of cherry about that wide. So I'm working on stuff with that at the moment. It's just lovely wood. I've never really been able to use it before, but it's just beautiful stuff.
Oh, I love cherry, mahogany. I like black walnut too. Black walnut. I think those three are probably one of my woods that I like the most. Cherry, mahogany, and black walnut. They all three scroll fairly well. Black walnut being the harder of them, so you have to take your time with them. Mahogany. Now I'm talking about scrolling. Mahogany seems to be the easiest of the three to scroll, and I would put cherry in the middle. But man, you can make some beautiful stuff out of it.
Walnut's the actual one wood that you can't get in Australia pretty much at all. And where you can get it, at the specialty places where you can get it, they'll charge you an arm and a leg for it. Like, it's the one wood that they just can't seem to get anywhere. It's just hard to grow, or they can't import it, whatever it is. It's just insanely expensive.
I like the cherry just because I have taken small branches and stuff and done a little bit with it, just what I could mill myself. I just love the smell of it, man.
Walnut?
Cherry.
Oh, cherry, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm over here trying to look at the chat section to see if anybody's got any questions, so I'm not trying to be rude. And so I'm trying to listen and look at the same time, and you know that's hard for a guy like me. When you get my age, it's hard to do two things at one time. So anybody else got any more questions?
I had a question about CNCs. I know Regan mentioned he turns, and now he does, more traditional woodworking, but he's also super into CNC. Like, I've seen his setup. He's got an awesome cabinet built around it, so he can have a CNC inside of his house. But what kind of got you into that part of it?
You got yourself muted there, buddy, Regan. I'll get it right one day.
Still muted.
Yeah, we still can't hear you, buddy.
Turn his mic.
He probably unplugged his Yeti mic.
Yeah.
That's it.
What
happened?
Yeah, he was showing us that table that you were talking about now. That's what I got that now.
Just sit down.
Russ,
Can you hear me now? Yep, there we go.
There we go.
I was trying to show you my my CNC enclosure. If you haven't seen it, it's rather big. It's actually 1.7 meters long, and I can cut big signs, all that kind of stuff on it. And I've got an actual upgrade that I'm doing at the moment. There'll probably be a video on it, but it involves a pump.
Your mother let you put that in the house?
Well, I may have told her it was going to be a little bit smaller, with the idea that once I put it in there, there's no way they can get it out. So
I hope your mom don't watch the show.
It's easier to apologize afterwards.
Yes.
Ask for forgiveness instead of permission.
Exactly. It's better to ask for forgiveness than ask for permission.
I don't even need to ask for forgiveness. They literally can't move it. It weighs a ton. It's made out of MDF, like 3/4 inch MDF on the base, big piece. 2 more big panels of 3/4 MDF for the wasteboard. Like, they're not moving it.
That's pretty funny.
In fact, at the moment, I'm working on this, and I can't tell you too much about it, but it's to do with the CNC machine.
You can't tell us too much about it, then why did you show it to us?
I can't say much. There'll be a video on it in a couple of weeks. There'll be a video.
You don't want to spoil it because of the video. I see how you are. Okay.
I don't want someone stealing my video ideas. That's all I don't
Tease.
want. So. little kind of tease on there. Little.
Do you have?
It'll be good.
Do you have anything there with you that you've turned that you can show us?
Yeah, I do. I picked this up from the other room. A little. That's American oak. That bowl.
Awesome.
Right.
So small. I kept the tenon on the back. I like the way it kind of when it sits up off the table, it has a nice shadow underneath it. So
yeah,
that's the main reason I kept it on there.
Well, hey, I might be getting in some hangouts with you here in the near future because I've got a lathe that a friend of mine gave me a while back, and
are we going to see the conversion to your turning, no more scrolling?
Yeah, I do. In all sincerity, I know I'm mostly known for scrolling, but I do a lot. But I've built cabinets, entertainment systems, you name it. I've done all kind of woodworking, but I have never tried. Only twice in my life have I tried turning, and since I've got my friend gave me that lathe, so I bought some cheap Harbor Freight tools, and I realized real quick that they're not worth a flip. I would say some other things about them, but I try to keep this show PG-13. But anyway, so my friend here, Michael, the other day, he was talking to me on Facebook, and he said, "Man, Rocklear has these are carbide tipped wood turning tools on sale. I think they're regular $189 for $99." And for the Black Friday sale, so I bought myself a Christmas present. So, and they're really nice. Let me tell you, they're very heavy. Nice. Yeah, very sturdy. They can change the tip. They're very much. I have one over here that I won in the birdhouse contest. Now this is the Easy Wood Tools. So they're actually a lot alike. Actually, I'll pull the. I guess it's called the finisher. Yeah. So as you can see, this has a square on it. This is round. Even though they have flattened it in the back, I guess, for the screw to go through. This one's a little larger. This one over here is here. I'll hold it back. This one is the Rocklear is a little larger. Very heavy, nice. So I'm interested in getting started. So I might have to take lessons from you, Regan. You might have to show me how to do it.
Well, you know, I've never actually used a carbide tool.
Really?
I've always used a traditional kind of. No, I use scrapers and that, but I've never used a carbide. I've always used the traditional bowl gouges and skew and that. And I think it's because I learned using that I don't really see a need to go buy carbide tools. Unless I've got a specific problem with the bowl I'm doing, then I might get something. But at the moment, I'm just pretty happy with my regular tools.
Well, I can assure you, you're not using the same tools that Harbor Freight produces because they are a piece of.
Yeah.
You turn one thing, and I'm talking about softwood too. Something like I've glued some pine together to try to turn the pine, and I turned that one thing, and it was already dull. I mean, just that quick. I know Tommy does. He's got some nice pins he just showed the other day that he had done on, and I think that's what these shorter tools, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. These are kind of like more like a pin. I know you can turn stuff like ornaments and stuff, but these are mostly designed for smaller items.
I think that's right. I've got a set of mini kind of tools for pens. They're traditional tools, but they're just like miniature versions. Which is actually the first set of tools I bought. They're high-speed steel, and now I was given by someone from the woodworking shed. Gave me a set of full-sized high-speed steel tools. They're still cheap Chinese ones, but they're high-speed steel, so they're really nice, and I use them pretty much every time I turn.
But anyway, big thanks to you, Michael, for telling me about that and then sending me that email because it worked out really great. Actually, I have to brag a little bit. I got those. I got me a Wixie height gauge. This thing's like regular, like $29. I got it for like $14.99 on the Black Friday sale. got me this cool little center finder here. These are like regular, like $5.99 for like $1.99. Some centering points for dowels, and then a real nice set of
Nice.
yeah. These were regularly $129 or $139. I get this whole set for like $69. So, yeah, I did some. My wife don't. I was standing out in the front yard the day they were being shipped and grabbed the box and ran to my shop so she wouldn't know I got them.
And remember, if you find them, you got them for free.
Yes. I want them for the birdhouse.
There you go.
Blame Brian.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Go ahead, somebody. I'm sorry. Somebody was going to ask him a question, and I cut you off. Okay, maybe you didn't want to ask a question. So
I was just going to say, Russ, it's all going to be fun and games as long as she don't look at the bill.
yeah. Well, this credit card is my credit card, and she has no access to it. She actually don't think that, well, unless she watches my show, she don't even know I got it.
If she watches your show, you're in trouble tonight.
You're screwed.
Yeah, and if one of y'all say a thing, you're never on my show again.
I know nothing.
Do you have a bed out there in your shop, Russ?
Sterling said,
Stay quiet.
go ahead, Tommy, I'm sorry.
So what is it worth to stay quiet?
Stay quiet. Sterling said something about the round shaft will catch more. The square is the way to go. So I'm not sure what he means by that. Tommy, do you have these kind of tools? Or Mike? Yeah, Michael has them. Michael, do you know what he's talking about? Michael.
Well, I think they flatten the back so that it rests on your
Tool wrist.
On the tool rest.
That sounds right, yeah.
If they were perfectly round, they'd have a chance to twist on you and catch on your project.
You see, you're teaching an old dog a new trick, because I was thinking, why in the heck did they flatten the back side of this thing? So now I know. They flatten it so it will sit on the tool rest.
Yeah. So
It's a bit of a fancy thing with tool makers. That's the shape at the bottom is really fancy with tools like that. Some say an oval shape, some say a flat back, and others say like a V shape. So it's just a tool you get, I think. I don't personally think it has any that big of a difference. It's more how you control the tool anyway.
So what you get used to using and how much control you have over it.
Yeah, because I mean, I know, and I don't know this for all of them, but the gouge that I have from home or from Harbor Freight, it's totally round. Are all gouges round?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like a traditional bull gouge, it's totally round, because that helps when you can roll it too when you have to get it down around a corner, or you don't just move it side to side.
I think it's quite a bit different with a carbide tip than traditional tools.
Well, I'm sure of that. One thing that I'm glad about, though, is since I haven't done that much turning, if I get used to these, maybe I won't have to make I don't know if there's a transition between the old ones and these or whatever, but I won't have to make that transition. But hey, guys, man, I got a wealth of knowledge on this panel, so I'm looking. I'll be contacting quite a few of you.
I can only tell you one thing about wood turning. If either your tool or the wood goes flying across the room, you did something wrong.
Yeah. Regan, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
You're still younger than the rest of us here, which is what makes us jealous. But what's been your favorite project so far?
Actually, I think I've got it. I've got it sitting on my desk. My favorite project so far.
Cool.
Oh,
Now
wow.
those are
Box
those
joint,
are
box joint?
yeah, box joints.
Dovetail joints.
Cool. That's
They're all
nice.
dovetails. Router cut, but they're all dovetails. And you lift it up, and this is close to the mic.
Oh, nice. Very
Nice.
good.
And it's flocked all the inside and all that stuff.
Very good.
That's my favourite thing I've made. I reckon I've got at least 30
Now,
hours
here's
in
the,
making it.
here's the opposite question. What was your most unfavorite? What went the worst on you?
I don't know, it's probably in the fire pit by now.
Yes.
Well, it's funny actually. I think probably some of my first projects, and I remember at the time I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome! Like it's so beautiful and that. And now I look back at it and I'm like, that's so terrible. Like just the whole thing is just bad.
Yeah.
So I
Well,
think
that's
it's
good,
probably some of my first projects and my least favorite.
Right.
Well, I know I'm in trouble now. Steve French over there, he said, don't forget to bring your credit card and hush money to the meeting Thursday. I accept large bills. Steve French is a friend of mine, and we both we live within about 15 minutes of each other. And we both he got me to join the wood club that he was a member of, so I've been joining there. So he wants me to bring my credit card. And then
Well,
Sterling,
he's trying to drink that night.
yeah, Sterling said, and this is a good point. I did not know this. Carbide tips are shavers, not cutters. It shaves off the wood. Okay, that sounds to reason, because I tell you what, they're sharp as all get. I really think you could, like, this thing's sharp enough you could cut your finger without any problem on it.
Yeah, you also have to change the your tool rest. You're not gonna have you're gonna be like towards the middle of the piece that you're working on. So you're like going into it, not actually coming up on an angle.
And you're telling me something I have no clue. Sorry, it's good. Trust me, it's going to be I turned a couple of things. I needed a 7/8 wooden dowel. Matter of fact, for the table, I made you've seen these folding TV tables for your living room, where you go eat TV and you fold it out or whatever. Well, I wanted to make one for my shop for this little laptop that sits here. I'll show you real quick. I'll try not to make y'all sick. But I wanted to make one of these folding tables a lot larger so this other laptop could sit on it. And so I needed underneath it, let me see if I can get my camera back right. I needed a wooden dowel to run across underneath it, and I didn't have one. And I said, well, heck, my friend gave me this lathe, and I got these turning tools. I'll create my own 7/8 inch wooden dowel. It didn't have to be perfect. And I turned about half, 3/4 of it, and man, I put that picture up on Instagram, and I thought I did a good job, and I got all kinds of comments about that. Looks like the crappiest turning I've ever seen in my entire life, and you know that hurt my feelings. I thought to myself, well, dang it, that's the first thing I ever turned, and y'all tell me it looks like crap. So
You
anyway,
always think the first thing you turn looks good, and you'll look back in 3 years' time and think in retrospect it looks shocking compared to what you're doing now.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So I turned that, and one other thing I turned. We were talking about it the other day when Chris was on here. I turned a small, like about this size baseball bat that I keep in my truck now. I think he had one here the other day that he was showing. Yeah.
I think a baseball bat was my first project. On my own lathe at home I ever turned.
I thought now I'm beginning to wonder if everybody didn't turn a baseball bat to begin with.
I
So
only take my out when the landscaper doesn't get his job done on time.
No, my first project was a pin.
Mine was not a baseball bat. It was a nightstick.
a nightstick.
Actually, I think mine was followed very closely by a nightstick. I think that was probably the project I made. I think first was a baseball bat, second was a mallet, and third was a nightstick. And it was a bloody good nightstick.
The correct term is attitude adjustment tool.
Yeah. There you go. Attitude.
Motivational tool.
There you go, yes.
Well, we're rocking down here. We got probably about 10 minutes left, so we're gonna get ready to end. I got to make one little announcement before we get off, but anything. I personally, Regan, I'll get it right one of these days. I am astounded not only by your talent, but by you, young man. When talking to you, it's not like you're talking to. I mean, I've talked to a lot of teenagers. You are very much much of an adult than most of us, as far as in terms of the way you handle yourself. I applaud you.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you are.
You're gonna make me cry.
You're not only very talented, but you're more like an adult. You've come a long ways, and in 16 years. I mean, you don't normally are able to carry out this kind of a most of them were either texting or on the phone or playing on a computer or a game. So, yeah,
I've been a subscriber of Regan's for quite a while, and I think I always enjoy his videos. It's cool
Thanks.
to see somebody that young get out there in his shop and do some of the cool things that he does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know maybe your parents didn't influence, or your father didn't influence you as much as you took off on your own, but still, I think that's I'm not going to get into this big debate or whatever, but I would like to say we need to consider teaching our young ones. I know I've taught my kids and even some of my grandkids woodworking and stuff, so I think that's something we need to do and instill in them. Idle hands are bad. They end up getting in trouble. And I by far don't think that the video games are the answer to anything. So that's the first.
I would agree.
I'm not going to let you get off the show. I fried Donald the other day on this too, but I'm not going to let you get off the show without. I have this little thing called Wood Shop Confessions. So I want you to tell me what is the boneheadest thing you've done in your shop.
Well, I did a video on it. I did a video on the silliest thing I did in my shop. That was my that was the time I was freehand cutting on the table saw. I thought that was pretty bad.
You did what?
I think I started Braxton to death on that video.
Oh, and I saw that, and I just about had a heart attack watching this kid cut on a freehand on a table saw.
Like table saw with the blade raised up like almost like 3/4, and I'm just sitting there like just chopping things at rock. That's probably the worst thing I've done on it. I don't do that anymore though. That was before I had access to the saw stop, so I do a lot more stuff with the nice fence and miter sleds and all that kind of stuff now.
You're lucky, but you're not the only one. I watched a flooring company one day. My daughter was getting some new wooden floors in her home. When I say wooden, it's not still. Most of what we get around here nowadays is laminate, and they came over and was putting it in, and this guy was freehanding the cuts on a small table saw with his, and I'm sitting there going like, I understand that's kind of the way he had to do it, and he was good, because trust me, he knew exactly what he was doing, but I just cringed every time I saw him thinking about he's going to cut his dang hand off before it's over with.
In fact, on the topic of table saws, I saw someone the other day at the shed, and I went up and corrected them on it. They were cutting big pieces, like it was something you really should be doing on a miter saw, but that's okay. They were cutting it on the table saw. They were cutting really long pieces, and it was only about that wide, and they had one bit against the fence, and all the way out the other side they were cutting it along. I'm like, that's got so much potential just to twist and throw it back in their face. It was unbelievable. Anyway, I went up and like, nah, you're not doing it. You're doing it this way. I don't care what you've got to say. And so we got them cutting with a miter sled and a spacer so that they didn't actually have any contact with the side while they were cutting, and it was all good after that, but
that's good.
Scared the crap out of me.
Trust me, that blocker will bust him in the mouth. It'll break that habit.
Yeah, but you know what? Later on, he's gonna do it again. Like Don said, it's gonna hit him in the face. He's gonna go, damn it, the kid was right.
Yep.
Should have listened to that
kid. Bloody kid.
I think we lost somebody. I think Michael had dropped out. I just realized that we lost somebody on.
I just say that from personal experience. I know it will happen. It will adjust your attitude.
Attitude adjusters.
As many years as I have been woodworking and working on a table saw, I've done it so long. When I first started, heck, there was no riving knife or sheet. There wasn't none of that crap.
Yeah.
But I have never had an incident where the kickback at all. And about 6 months ago, I want to say, yeah, it's been about 6 months. I was cutting a piece of wood and I wasn't really paying attention. That was the first mistake. And I reached over to grab my push stick, or so to speak. I got like one of those push things you put on it. And I reached over to grab the push thing, and in doing that, when I was holding it with my other hand, apparently I twisted a little bit, and that piece came loose and went right beside me, so close. Let's put it this way: I felt my T-shirt quiver as the air went as it went by and hit the wall behind me and left it hit the wall. And I was sitting there going, "Holy crap!" And all the years of woodworking, that's the first time I ever had it happen, but it scared the crap out of me.
Yeah, I caught one of those in the stomach once, and that was enough for me. It hurt.
And it was my fault. Like I said, I had the one hand, and rather than turning the saw off and reaching over a little bit and grabbing it and coming back, I reached over and twisted. It happened. Well, guys, go ahead.
I had kickback on a thicknesser actually once, and it wasn't entirely well. I guess it was. I think if you're controlling the machine, you injure yourself. It realistically is your fault for not controlling and working, like doing things safely. But what happened? I was thicknessing an end grain chopping board, and there was a supervisor there, and he was helping us pull it out of the thicknesser and hand it back to me. And he was turning the dial. He was impatient, and you know you should only turn it on about like an eighth of a turn. He turned it a half turn, and I didn't notice. I didn't pick up on him doing it, and put the thing through. And it just smashed through the end grain chopping board, cut my hand, and it was a big mess. But I blamed myself for not watching that the guy was impatient and turning it more than we both knew we should have. Anyway, he apologized to me and my hand was fine, but taught me if you're using a machine and you can get injured on it, make sure you're in control of it, not letting someone else do it or letting someone else turn the machine and that. Make sure you're the one that has control of it.
Yeah. Oh, I thank God every day. I've been fortunate. I got all my digits, man. I've been fortunate. Knock on wood. So, guys, we're rolling down to the last few minutes, and I do have a little something, a couple little things to announce, or one little thing to announce before we get off. This is Christmas time, so I like giving people things away, and I know that you guys on the panel a lot of times don't have the opportunity to play. So at the end of the show on Facebook, I am going to ask a question. This is after we clear out of the show. I'm not going to hang around, guys, a lot tonight, or very long tonight. My wife's not feeling good. She came home this afternoon. She's not feeling good. She asked me if I could not cut the show short, but not stay out too late, so I'm going to go in and see her. But anyway, so when I get offline, y'all can stay around and talk. When I get off, I'm going to post a question on Facebook. The first one to ask or answer that question on Facebook will receive a bottle of Tight Bond 2 glue. So all those of you who are watching in the chat section, all are all welcome to participate. It's going to be a little toughy question, and it will be posted on Facebook. Like I said, once I get off, you have to start watching and look on Facebook, and then first person to answer will get the bottle of glue, and then I'll have something for. We're going to have a show next week, which is the 12th, and we're going to have a show on the 19th, and then that'll be it. It might be it until after the first of the year. I know I'm not going to have one right after Christmas. We just got too much going on, and so I think the next date after Christmas is the 2nd, and I don't know if I'm going to feel like having a show on a Saturday night since New Year's is on the Friday night. So we'll see.
Is the question going to be who won the SEC championship?
Is it a woodworking related question, or is it like an American related question?
I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you. I will put it this way. You will. No, I'm not going to tell you. It's
okay. Well, opening your Instagram, your Facebook, your YouTube.
Well, yeah. Now you're getting warm. So yeah, it's probably going to be along that line. Yeah. You would definitely have to know a little bit about me and been observant in some of my things I do.
The answer is Roll Tide.
I can, Dave's pretty well out the door on not coming back. Donald, you're working on it. So, no, I congratulate.
I'm hoping you'll be over it by next week.
No, I have to say, hey, congratulations, Roll Tide Roll, because they rolled their I was going to say ass, but I didn't want to say that, but they rolled their ass right over us. So,
hey, I'm a Carolina man, so I'm out of that altogether.
So, thanks all y'all guys. There's Noah, Mom knows Shelley, Braxton. You're over there posting. Ron Buchanan, Sterling Davis, Kay was on there early. Leland, all y'all guys over there in the chat section. Thank you very much for being here tonight. I'm looking back through, see if I didn't miss anybody. Steve French, he was another one. James Green was on there. All you guys, thank you for being on the chat section and having a good time, and thank all y'all guys on the panel.
Thanks for having us.
You're all welcome. I appreciate each and every one of you. At the closing, I always make the little statement. If you're too darn busy to get out in your shop and make some sawdust, you're just too darn busy. Y'all have a nice night, and God bless.